So you're going to do a video intro for us?
No, I get
What's
to do
up,
the clap.
YouTube?
Oh, that's you. That's your department.
We're going to greet our 9 subscribers.
I don't mind at all. Hey, you got to start where you are.
No, that's absolutely. Every YouTube had to start with 0, right?
Yeah, exactly. So how you been, man? I noticed you were yawning a little bit as we were setting things up. You've been not sleeping or just busy, or what's been going on?
Both. We for anyone who is listening, we didn't talk about this specifically because I wanted to tell you on the podcast. So I had a very important date yesterday, a court date.
A court date?
I had to go to court.
Oh my goodness, that sounds so serious.
I was worried. I was looking up prison sentences and what the penalties were and everything yesterday. And so I'll tell you what it is that I did wrong. But I arrive at the court date and I'm sweating. I'm so nervous. It's 6 months prison time and $25,000 fine if the maximum penalty is applied. And so I said goodbye to Bonnie and Sammy yesterday, just in case they lock me up. And Bonnie's like, well, if you're convicted and this is a thing, and if they give you the maximum penalty, can they arrest you on the spot? I'm like, I don't know, Bonnie. That's the mentality I walked into the court with, was maybe they're going to lock me up for 6 months. I just don't know.
Whoa.
And as I walk in, there's people from Sai Kung there. There's 20, 25 of us. All, and I can recognize people from Sai Kung. I don't know everyone by name, but we're all from Sai Kung. What happened was, last year I had thrown away some rubbish, and I took it to the Lapsup, to the dump, and I'd put some empty water bottles, like big 50 liter or whatever, the 20 liter water bottles, next to the bin. I'd lined them up, thinking maybe someone will want to take them. I don't want to throw them in the trash. Let's be environmentally concerned here. And so I didn't dump them on the side of the road or anything. I literally put them next to the bins, but not in the bins. Being conscious. They had a crew, environmental agency crew, filming people illegally dumping in that car park. And so they caught 20 or 25 people illegally dumping. And I spoke to a few people just outside the courtroom yesterday. They were putting things like couches outside the rubbish bin, and within a couple of hours people had taken them. So we weren't dumping in the strictest sense of the word, but technically by the letter of the law we were. And so that's why I had to go to court.
Oh my goodness, that's so uncomfortable. But I mean, I do that too. If there's something that I think someone else could potentially use, you don't put it in the trash basket in my building. I put it in the stairs next to it, just in case someone might want to use it.
Exactly. But it's there so that if someone comes to collect the rubbish the next day, it's there to take.
But I understand technically you did do something wrong.
Absolutely.
But how did it then all go down?
So we get ushered in. I'm there early and I was rushing. To get there early. I got there dressed up. I hate dressing up, and I'm all dressed up, and we arrive. We're all sort of outside the thing, and are we going to get in trouble? And everyone's sweating and worried. And so we get ushered into the room. Then there's court officials and people sitting at computers with fancy gowns and lawyers. And it was pretty intimidating. And it's this big room. And you're sitting right at the back, and the judge is on his own level. He hadn't even walked in yet, but he's on his own level right at the back, plexiglass in front of you, I think for COVID. Very intimidating. So everyone's very quiet. And when the judge walks in, everyone stands up and bows, and you're very, very respectful. And they get the first guy up. It's all in Chinese because it's Hong Kong. And so you have no idea what's being said. And the guy's very demure, very calm. Yes, no, sir. The judge, he wasn't harsh, but he was so direct. It wasn't please and thank yous. It wasn't soft. It was, you're dealing with the law. So it was pretty scary. And then because I don't speak Chinese, I'm listening out for my number. And after about 20, 30 minutes, my number was called out. So I thought I'd be at the end because of my surname beginning with a W. I thought I'd be right at the end. But it turns out I'm the fifth or sixth person. And when I get up to go to the podium, you're standing by yourself in front of this desk, and then about 50 meters away, there's this judge sitting above you.
Oh, how uncomfortable.
So as I get up to the mic, I mean, literally, as I get standing to the mic, a police officer who's been in the room the whole time, sitting down, filling out paperwork, gets up out from the corner of my eye, and because there's plexiglass, I can see him walk and stand immediately behind me. And I can see him in their plexiglass. And I'm thinking, oh no. My brain was saying, they think you're a threat. You're this big, fat, hairy man. And the sentence they're going to give you is so harsh, you're going to freak out. So they're bringing in extra security just for you.
They did not do that to the other.
No one else. No one else.
Okay, that's a logical
So
train of
my
thought.
brain's going, oh no, I know. So I start to like have a little mini panic attack. And my breathing goes. I got a face mask on, which I hardly ever wear because I'm not really with a lot of people a lot of the time. And I'm just sweating. I'm thinking, oh no, oh no. The judge looks at me, says a few things. I can't remember exactly. The lady who, I don't know if she's a prosecutor or defender. I don't even know. She starts to read out the case against me. And as she's reading it, she looks at me and says, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, sorry. And the judge then repeats what she had asked. And the judge said, do you have any objection to them including your age in the case? And
Including
no one else.
Including your age in the
age,
case? What
yeah.
does that mean?
Like how old I am in relation to the court case. I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Right, yeah.
So of course I go, no problem. So now I'm like doubling down. My brain just working 1,000 miles a minute going, you're screwed. Like game over for you. Why are they adding in this weird thing? I have no idea what's going on. Have I done something really bad? Like water bottles are like extra poisonous in the sun, and am I like a high level criminal?
Oh my
I don't
goodness.
know. Do I have to get teardrop tattoos on my face? Oh. And so I'm just so panicked. Anyway, they read out the full thing. How do you plead? Guilty. Because I'm guilty. I broke the law. And he says, do you have anything to say for yourself? I said, I'm sorry, sir. I think I said, Your Honor, but like, I'm sorry, sir. And I didn't think I was illegally dumping, but I was, and I admit my guilt, and I apologize. And he says, good, don't do it again. He says, you'll be fined 1,500 Hong Kong dollars. Do you have any objection to paying right now? I said, no, sir. He says, go to floor 2, you'll pay right now. And I was like, I can breathe again. I can breathe again. And that was the end of it. I literally walked straight out of the courtroom, paid my bill, and within 5 minutes of me shivering and trembling, I was free. Free man.
But I mean, they could have thrown the book at you, and they didn't. And I can really, it was kind of good that you decided to look into it to see like what's the worst case, so that you could have that sense of relief. Because I think maybe if you thought this was going to be nothing and you would have had like a different disposition or different kind of attitude, the judge might have decided to be a little bit more harsh if you had like that kind of disposition in the spot. I would imagine that.
There were some Westerners in the crew, our legal dumping crew, who were a little bit arrogant. They walked in
Right.
with their chest out,
Yeah.
their head wasn't down, and I thought, this is the wrong time to try and prove how strong you are, because this is a judge with the whole of the Hong Kong government behind him. He has the authority. You say, yes, sir. You keep your head down. You play the game. And with my little bit of research, I don't know if it helped because it made me so nervous. Because I would assume it'd be a couple $1,000s worth of a fine, which is justified. That's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when I looked at the prison sentences, it made me so nervous because I thought, you can pay a fine, but 6 months... The son's 2.5 years old. I'm going to miss out 6 months of him. There's other things like work and people, and I don't think I'd do well in prison. I'm too pretty. No, that's not true at all.
I don't think anyone would do well in prison, right?
I don't know. There's a little romantic part of my brain that thinks if I was in prison, I'd have nothing else to do but work out. Part of me thinks someone else handling my routine and what I eat and when I eat and nothing else to do would mean that I can get fit. But I don't think that's true because through COVID, there were elements that felt like prison and I didn't do anything about it.
Right. And I mean, I just think it's so severe that your independence, your control of your life is completely taken away. However short amount of time it is, it's very harsh and severe. And also, like, you're gonna have that stain, and you can't take it away. I think people have issues, visa issues, because they have had some instances, right?
Have I got a stain on my record? Am I a criminal?
I don't think you are. No. You didn't get a sentence.
Are you sure?
You got fined. You can get a
But
parking
I was
fine.
convicted and I'm guilty, right?
You get convicted of parking illegally too. You dumped illegally, right? You got fined. You did not get a prison sentence.
But the penalty was a fine, but I was guilty of an illegal action.
Parking is also illegal, man.
True.
I don't think you have to.
But you don't go to court for a parking fine.
Well, if you have enough of them.
Maybe.
I know
Maybe.
someone that has been to prison for not paying their fines for long enough and for having too many of them. Seriously. Yeah.
So I am a criminal.
No, I don't think you are. You got fined.
I need to look in there. But I hope you're right. I think you're right. But it just occurred to me there, or maybe I've got... It doesn't really matter, because whatever we do pretty much independent of most systems and needing other people's approval.
Thinking of it logically, if you are a country that you want to have law and order and want to have things neat and clean, you can decide no one that has a criminal record can enter the country.
That's right.
And I don't think this constitutes a criminal record. This is a fine.
True.
Yeah.
True. If I served time, maybe it would be different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let me just be clear. I'm very grateful for the legal system. Like, it's good that they're literally cleaning up people dumping illegally. And I'm, ashamed is a strong word, but I'm not happy that I was part of the problem. And I think that's a problem that should be solved, and I'm grateful for that. But it wasn't nice. It wasn't a fun experience. But I'm grateful for it.
I know exactly how you feel. So I think I told you, maybe not on a podcast, about a friend of mine that ordered some products into the country. Nothing illegal to my knowledge. Like, to begin with, he ordered like some parts for his motorcycle. He was a pilot flying in and out. He would just pick it up because, import tax is very expensive in Iceland. Value-added tax alone is 25%. So it would make sense for him just to like get some parts sent here, pick them up, put it in his bag, and bring it back to Iceland and save a little bit. Nothing wrong in that. So he did that a couple of times. But so he's into hunting. And when you're hunting and you're right-handed, if your dominant eye is not your right eye, like you put your gun up against your right shoulder and you look down the barrel, but for him, his dominant eye is his left eye. So that's an issue when you're right-handed.
Okay.
So there is a device that can correct for this.
Okay.
So you put it on the barrel of your gun, and it corrects for you, so you can use your dominant eye and like hunt properly. So he had this device ordered for him and his dad because they both have this. And I picked it up for him, and he met with me a couple of weeks later when he was here and went on his way. 4 or 5 months later, I get contacted by some government agency asking me about like some weapon device or scope sent to my address and attached by my name, and I picked it up. And I don't have any idea what he's talking about. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, seriously, I don't know. And then
so you didn't know it was a scope at that point?
I had no idea. And then it occurred to me like 2 months later, I was like, they kept asking me to come by and like, try to think of it, like maybe like, maybe you have some paperwork or something. And then like it occurred to me like, hey man, I know what this is. And I explained the situation. I asked my friend to take a picture of the scopes in Iceland with an Icelandic newspaper, showed him like, hey, this is like my friend's stuff, and this is in Iceland now. This is the situation. And I was super worried because this is essentially like a part of a weapon, right?
Yeah.
And you cannot have any of that here. And I think for 1.5 years, I was going in and out on interviews, and I was just like, where is this going? What's the worst case going to be? So
That's
for
scary.
that moment, when you felt what you felt in the court, I felt like a tiny fraction of that just every time I had to go for an interview to talk to them.
Well, potentially the sentencing or the consequences of that is much worse than my stupid dumping.
Right.
So that's the thing I don't like about it is it hangs over you, right?
Yeah.
So for the last, I've known about this since May. And even though it's not a huge thing, it's in my mind. Every time I look at my calendar, I've got a reminder, 2nd of August, 2nd of, and I'm like, oh no. So yeah, that's not fun. And you weren't even trying to be horrible. It wasn't even for you. It was for a friend. You were doing a favor, and he must have found horrible.
I honestly, I didn't tell him until it was over.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't want him to
So
feel
he
bad.
felt horrible for 5 seconds.
He's one of my very, very best friends.
Okay.
I mean, this was not malicious. This is just what it is. And thankfully it worked out. It would have been really bad if I had received the sentence for it. That would have been really unfortunate.
So people hunt in Iceland?
Yes, they do.
That's cool.
We have reindeer.
Yes.
And you can get like a license to hunt them. And that's a really cool thing, I think.
Right.
Because you can get a lot of meat and you can cure it. You could keep it yourself. And so my friend, he used to reindeer hunt, this same friend. And he also hunts goose.
Okay.
You can get license for this. And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Have you been hunting?
I have not.
Okay.
But I like the idea. I like the idea of have a better connection to your food than just like buying it in a packet in the supermarket.
Yeah.
Because I eat meat.
Yes.
So it's kind of arrogant to have this kind of clear disconnect
Yeah.
and have like a judgmental opinion on it.
It's, yeah, I can understand why vegans have problems with meat eaters, but I don't think you can have a problem with a meat eater who hunts their own meat, or at least attempts to.
But I mean, I think that's also a little bit like, I mean, we are a species that has developed and needs to properly thrive, eat meat. And if you kind of just don't want to be what you are, I think that's kind of a little bit odd disposition to be completely
I just want to say I don't want to be cancelled, and I refuse to be associated with EG for these controversial views. Hashtag cancel EG.
Oh my goodness. You're just throwing me right under the bus.
Yeah, I'm a vegan and I'm highly offended. No. It's funny, man. It's funny how vocal sometimes minorities can be about these issues.
What's up, guys? Editor EG here. Claudio, my friend, I really appreciate you never ever making me feel bad about my choice to eat meat. I really respect you being a vegan. I'm not referring to you in the video. I'm more referring to vegans who make meat eaters feel bad. Just wanted to make sure I didn't lose a subscriber. Really appreciate you, my friend. Hope you don't take offense to this. All right, back to the pod.
Hi, this is Sean here. I would just like to say that I don't believe EG's apology and conditions, and I think we should cancel him regardless. So, thank you. Back to the video. Yeah, everyone's eaten meat for all the time. And there's fringe examples where maybe that's not true for some of the time, but any healthy civilization has eaten meat.
I mean, the orientation of our eyes, we are a predator. We don't have the eyes on the sides of our head to look out. We have the eyes facing forward, meaning we are a predator. We hunt. We develop hunting.
Now
it's
people
who
have eyesight problems are going to be offended.
This is turning into a
now
whole
blind
different
people
podcast.
are offended. Hashtag cancel EG.
This podcast is really a bad idea.
It really is a bad idea. We agree with the premise.
I'm giving everyone fodder to cancel me.
Yeah.
I'm making everyone offended.
Isn't it funny that, like, I'm very sure when you're saying those things, you're conscious about those potential consequences, even though we have no platform and no one really cares about us. I find in my own speech, I'm self-censoring all the time because of these strange things where you watch stuff online where people just cancel over stupid things.
Right.
And we have nothing to cancel.
That's true.
But you're still like programmed to be aware of these issues because they're so touchy.
I'm aware of it, but I'm also aware of like the fact that I don't want to have to censor like who I truly am. I want to be able to be upfront and honest about my opinions.
Right.
And if my opinion is somehow offensive or wrong in someone else's opinion, I welcome the discussion. I'm happy to change my mind if I sit in front of someone who is very knowledgeable and presents a good argument for for my opinion being wrong, I'm open to it. And this could be an invitation to someone trying to change my mind or give me opinions through comments or whatever on why my opinion is bad.
I like that. I think that's very healthy. I don't think that's common, but it's very healthy.
No, but I mean, I don't think there should be topics that we can't talk about. I mean, there are some topics, but I mean, that shouldn't be the baseline.
Yes.
Because if I have a topic or a thing that's so sensitive to me that it doesn't tolerate the discussion, then my standpoint might be wrong or weak, or there might be something iffy happening beneath the surface, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So you said there shouldn't be, and then what topics would you say are off limits that you just can't talk about? And I'm not talking about because you might have backlash. I'm talking about in your perspective of what should be discussable.
I think for us, we are foreigners in China, and talking about politics might be a bad idea.
Right. It is the Bad Idea podcast. No, that's exactly right. Yeah. But I think in general, I 100% agree with you. Even if I'm trying to think of something terrible, mass murder, clearly it's wrong. No one should do it. But to be able to discuss it is a good thing. And even trying to understand that mass murderer's perspective. You're not agreeing with it. You're just trying to understand, okay, how is it that this guy came to this conclusion? And not necessarily identify with it, but just understand the perspective. I think that's a healthy thing. I think everything is on the table.
Absolutely.
I heard Jordan Peterson recently say that if you can't talk about something, you can't really think about it. And free speech is free thinking. I'm butchering his words, but essentially the ability to discuss a topic is incredibly powerful for civilization. And the second you take things off the table, you can't talk about that, you can't talk about that, you can't think about it, and then you're in some sort of prison.
Right.
So I agree with that sentiment 100%.
I think it's just like, it's kind of like evolution. It's, you have an animal thriving or not thriving in the environment based on the environment and their abilities.
Yeah.
And ideas should be the same way. You should be able to have them out in the open, and they should be able to roam around, and like you should be able to exchange ideas about them, and then you can make up your own mind coming from your perspective, and others should be able to do the same. If a bad idea dies, like, if people have like a truly horrible perspective on life, people are going to be pushed off and off-put by you, right?
That's 100% true. I agree with that.
I think, like, for instance, now it annoys me just a little bit, but I can't understand it, like why Andrew Tate is absolutely everywhere right now. He has some quite horrific ideas, but he is entertaining about his ideas, and I think that's why he's there.
I am so intrigued by him.
Right?
I'm so intrigued. It is, what a weird phenomenon. For him to just arrive from nowhere, at least in our view, I know he's been a kickboxer and all the rest, and the fact that he's got so much clout so quickly and so much following is impressive.
What's the first instance you remember having his name mentioned or seeing him in your feed or something?
I watch Twitch. I watch a little bit of Twitch. I don't spend a lot of time on it. But I know some of the streamers, and he was on some of their shows.
How long ago was this?
4 weeks, 3-4 weeks.
Oh, so very recently.
Very recently. I didn't know about him until he came into the Twitch world.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, then I watched a few of his things. And then what happens with any social media is the second you watch one thing, 1,000 things of the same thing are presented back to you. So now I've seen a fair bit of his content. But I think he's incredibly charismatic. I think he's really, really interesting. And I also, let me qualify afterwards, I also agree with some of his takes.
All right.
He is not 100% wrong. There are some things he's saying that actually I agree with.
Like women are stupid?
Are you trying to cancel me?
Hey, that's one of his most famous statements.
Oh no. We went from 9 subscribers to 8 subscribers. No, no, obviously not that, but there's some things, and I can't think of anything at the top of my head, where I think that's the power of what he's able to do, is that he's able to say truth, 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 and then he slips something else in that clearly is just lunacy. It's just idiocy.
I mean, it's clickbait. It's amazing title for people to dive into his content.
Yes.
To find something to be outraged.
Yes, exactly. And I think that just adds to the attention. It's like the Paul brothers.
Yes.
They are powerhouses. Now, I don't particularly like them, but it's incredible what they've been able to do.
Absolutely.
And I think part of the game is say something so ridiculous that grabs eyeballs.
Yep.
Now you've won.
Yep.
So people look at the legitimacy of what they say,
yep,
and assess it, and then people like us will go, oh no, well, that's stupid and I don't agree with this. But they're not playing the game of what is the ultimate truth. They're playing the game of how do we get attention.
Right. You
And they
tune
win.
in whether you're a fan or someone that hates them.
Exactly.
They're winning if you're tuning in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I find that intriguing because that's not how most of us play.
No.
Most of us play by multiple rule sets. We're polite. We're forgiving. We give room. These guys have forgone some of that rule set, and they're going straight for attention.
Right.
And it's working.
It is.
I don't know if it's sustainable. I don't know if it's healthy, but it wins them the game.
It does.
It's like the guys who are, they play certain ball games where you scuff the ball up, or you break part of it, or you deflate it, or there's a little like trick in there
Right.
that technically is illegal,
Right.
but they sort of get away with it, and
Right.
they win.
Right. I mean, they have an edge. They have some sort of way to get things to work for them, and they're thriving. And Andrew Tate is like really thriving right now.
He's doing amazingly. What I like about him is he is for young men being men. I think that's a great thing. You can't really argue with that. You're saying if you're a young man, be a young man. Here are some values. Some of the values he says are good values, like work hard, be strong, go through experience. Those are good things. I don't know everything that he said. I can't qualify everything, but the little clips that I've seen, how can you say that that's a bad thing? That's a great thing. And then some of the things he says are so crazy, just so crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how he keeps a straight face and defends some of those things. It's ridiculous. Like it's funny. It's so stupid.
That's what I'm saying. It's entertainment value. For instance, like he's saying, like, how can you be a grown man and not have a single million? Like, what is the matter with you? How can you be a human being, a person in this world, and not have a single million to your name? What's wrong with you? That's a famous clip that he made. To me, it's like, it's entertaining.
I think that is hilarious. Absolutely
is.
hilarious. And he's not it doesn't look to me, I don't know him, but it doesn't look to me like he's a stupid guy. He's well-spoken, he's articulate, he's blunt in his ideas, but he's not an idiot.
No.
And so to say something like that, he must know that's not his genuine opinion. That is that he knows he's clickbaiting. And he says it with a smile and a confidence. You're like, he's playing a game.
I think he's tapping into something that has recently changed, for instance, in the UFC. With Conor McGregor, for instance, he became kind of like the Paul brothers. People tune in to see him, either they want to see him lose or win. Either way, like everyone is tuning in. Everyone watches him. And he has that kind of WWE persona. Like he is really, really provocative and super outspoken, entertaining, funny, and brash.
Right.
Andrew Tate is doing the same thing. He is presenting this persona of massive confidence.
Yes.
He has like very blanket statements and blanket clear standpoints, and he exudes confidence. And people tune in to either
Love it or
be
hate it.
outraged or like they're following him. And I think there's a lot of people out there that might lack confidence, and he has that in bucket loads. At least that's the front that he presents.
Yep.
And people tune in for that because you're attracted by something that you want to have. Like you want either success or confidence, you're tuning into him. And I think that's really, really big part of his success model. Another big part, which is a little concerning, is that how he structures his business.
I've heard about this.
Have you heard about Hustle's University?
I've heard about it, yeah. I've watched one video where someone explained how it works.
What is your understanding about, like, and how do you think this fits into what he's doing? and his persona and all of that.
It seems like and please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm assuming you know more than I do about it, but
Not necessarily.
He's getting these kids in to pay him $50 a month, and then the way that he teaches them to make money is that they use affiliate links to promote him. And so there's this incredible feedback loop, because the more people that sign on, the more successful he gets because they're promoting him, and the more it sells the program because these guys are getting successful off him. But there's a limit to how long that can work for. So we'll see. Is that immoral? Is that wrong? I don't know if it's immoral, because I'm sure there's some cancellation, and even if you get screwed over for 1 month, you can stop paying. I don't know, but I certainly wouldn't be signing up for something like that. I just don't think that's a good thing. I don't know. We're also capitalists. We believe in a free market. That means you can do whatever you want to do.
Right.
And if you sell a product and it's overpriced, but someone's prepared to pay for it, then that's the free market.
Right.
And the wonderful thing about a free market is that it corrects, because if someone else comes with the same product at a cheaper price, you no longer have business. So you've got to remain competitive. The free market isn't you set your price and then you can do whatever you want. The market will correct. And it seems like he's filling some segment of the market that's working for him. And if it's so bad, then produce a better product. Produce a better university at a better price.
I think it sounds eerily a little bit too much like a pyramid scheme.
It does.
I think that's kind of the definition, right?
Yep.
But I mean, a lot of businesses are kind of based off this same idea. So I'm not frowning on it. I mean, Herbalife works the same way, right?
Yeah. It does.
Doesn't it, right?
It does. I don't like any of those schemes. Amway, Herbalife, all these other vitamin things. I just don't like them. Because some people win, but most people lose. And that's probably what's happening with this thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's too new to say. And I don't know. Who knows? He's saying that he's teaching people how to make money. I mean, I don't know what the content is and what's happening, when you're inside that Hustlers University. So I am not in a position to judge it.
Yeah.
It just kind of looks a little suspicious from the outside to me.
I would, imagine you got your 18-year-old son coming to you and saying, "Hey, Dad, should I sign up to this?" Your advice obviously would be, "Hell no. What are you thinking? No, this guy's trying to screw you for $50 a month. No, don't do that." So we know what the game is, but there might be some truth. That's an interesting thing about him. That's why I don't want to just blatantly just hate him.
No.
But also I just don't love him. Is because there's something charismatic about him and there's something powerful about him. But power's not good or bad. It depends on how you use that power.
Right.
And there may be some young men who come off the brink of suicide, or their life turns around, or they learn how to be better in some regard because of his influence.
Right.
But I also suspect there'll be some people who end up in a much worse position because of him. Or his influence.
I mean, that's possible. But I mean, I think especially at a certain age, when you're a young man, especially because women tend to be a little bit more communal and be a little bit better at social skills. But particularly for men, when you're young and when you're open to influence, I think that's his audience.
It is.
I think it's really young men, and I think Jordan Peterson is kind of preaching down the same line.
Yes.
But he is kind of a young, fresh version of that. He presents himself he has this Bugattis and all these crazy lifestyle, and I mean he looks really successful. So obviously okay, this guy knows he knows how to make money. What's his way of thinking? And then you're introduced to okay, you can join this Hustlers University and I'll teach you how I get success. I'm fine with people doing whatever they want, but
yes.
And I'm entertained by him, but then at the same time, a little bit
nervous about it. Yeah. Jaden said to me, because we spoke about this a couple of days ago, he was saying the difference between Peterson and Tate is that Peterson has nuance.
He does.
And Tate is very blunt. And so while some, not all, but some of the things that they say line up, Peterson's not being brash and arrogant about it. He's actually genuinely trying to help people for that sake. Whereas the reason why the money thing with Tate is problematic is because what's his motivation? To help others or to help his business? And whenever you get those two things crossing, it's very hard to discern, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Whereas
Right.
Jordan Peterson is doing stuff for free on the internet. You can download it. He doesn't make any money off it. Of course, there's some side benefits to having a following, but he's already established. He's already made his money. He's already in the game. You can trust the motive more.
Absolutely. And speaking to that, he was a university professor when he started releasing some of his classes to online for YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. And when this politically correct movement started in the universities, he was really concerned about the pronouns and all of that and deeply disagreed with it. So he kind of used his platform to voice his concern and then eventually got pushed out. Is that
Yes.
correct?
I think you're right. I don't know categorically, but I think you're right.
So this kind of gave him the independence that he required or needed, because otherwise he would have been forced to either comply or you're out, and you're completely out of that system if this is your career.
Yeah, it was a very, very, very clear picture of what's playing out more globally.
Right.
Because in some sense, he was standing for truth. He was an expression of truth, saying, "Hey, this is not right. I don't think we should enforce this on people. We shouldn't enforce speech on people."
Right.
And they pushed him out, which means no, we are going to enforce speech on you,
Right.
which is not a healthy thing. Which is what we've very much started at the beginning of the podcast with us, talking about your ability to express ideas is the freedom to think.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Tate, I don't know. I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. He's certainly entertaining. He's certainly charismatic and powerful. Is it going to be a good thing? Anyone who would listen to me, I would say, treat it as entertainment, but don't get suck it into some of those ideas.
Right.
I think time will tell whether this will be an overall good thing.
Absolutely.
And people also need to evolve in their own process, in that he may see some negative consequences by some of his behavior, and he might become more nuanced if he has a genuine care for other people and these young men, which I don't want to be harsh and say he doesn't. He may genuinely care about people he's talking to. You don't know what someone's like on a camera versus what they're like in person. So maybe over time he becomes more nuanced and looks at things and adds in components that counteract maybe some of the devastation that other people are warning about. But personally, I don't think anyone should be cancelled. I don't think anyone should be deplatformed and taken off. And I think some people are calling that for Tate. And I think, no, let the market decide. The market will decide, is this guy good or bad? And sometimes there's blips in the market, but over time it corrects. And if someone has nothing of value or what they're saying is destructive, the market will go, let's move this guy out.
I think it's all like a balance act. You have like some 0 points where everyone agrees, and then you have like extreme feminists that have one side, and then
you really want to be cancelled.
And then you have bigoted men on one other side.
That's true.
And I really just like he's just counteracting and balancing off the other side of the spectrum.
Yes.
And I think you're right. I don't think we should like be able to like ban certain opinions or things on social media platforms. It's just
Right.
like, you have an idea. If someone else thinks that idea is broken, this is the platform, this is the forum, this is the venue to challenge that idea. And like, we're all able to kind of be a spectator and form our own opinion and listen to both sides of the argument. This is what I really, really like about long format conversation and podcasts, because you don't have 7 minutes on a talk show to
Right.
just like give like a brief little tiny story. You have a long format way to kind of get an idea of what the person is like behind that opinion. Like, what's this person's views on all kinds of different
Right.
things. And I think this is truly the way forward. This is like a proper discussion. It's not just like a little clickbaits and little isolated sound bites that have been curated and trained for forever and ever.
With no substance behind that idea.
Yes.
You have to prove, okay, what's my perspective on this? Why? Well, what about this? Well, where did that come from? You can't, as you say, you can't do that in a couple of minutes.
But it's difficult now because people's attention spans are either like it. We have such extreme. We have the 15-second TikTok segment, and we have the 3-hour podcast segment. Like there's nothing between. There should be something in between. It seems like.
It's so funny you're talking about this, EG, because last night I watched a clip. I got some random stuff on my YouTube, but I watched a clip from the BBC. And it was the 70s, I think, maybe late 70s. So we're talking 50 years ago. And it was this BBC talk show, and they had some rock stars on that I don't know their names, but they were big bands. And they had a small startup newspaper that was critiquing music. It was some sort of, like the teenagers were buying this magazine. I think it was called The Beanie, but don't quote me on that. And then they had old school media that were music critics. And what happened was the talk show host was talking to all of these guys, introduced them of who they were. So there were 4 guys on the panel. And they started to interact. This is like a 15-minute clip. And they're interrupting each other. They're presenting ideas. They're questioning. They're going back and forth. And what amazed me was they were talking about this new school media. And this new school media was informing people of where the latest bands were and what they were doing, and their gripe was against old school music critics who didn't understand the music and were saying that they didn't like it. And so they weren't giving a true representation. So the rock stars were going, we don't like you, we like the new young guy, we buy his magazine every week. That was the context. But the way that they discussed it was so impressive to me, because they didn't have the 15-second TikTok and it's only my opinion, and if you don't agree with my opinion, then you need to be cancelled. They actually gave each other room to talk. They presented ideas. They argued that idea. They didn't go off on another tangent to give their other little soundbite. It was so interesting. And so I think in the last, more so 20 years, but certainly from that clip, 50 years, everything has changed at how we engage with each other. And so it's no longer just, your idea has value and merit because you believe it, and let's discuss that. It's now like, it's only my idea, and cancel you if you don't listen.
I think, some people just don't have the ability to listen.
What's that?
I mean, both. Like
What's
some.
Sorry.
I'm a little bit slow.
Stupid joke. I'm so sorry.
But you know what I mean? Like, that discussion panel that you were describing required both parties to be able to listen.
Yes. And also not just listen passively, but then take a point and flip it back and say, well, you said this, but what about that? Like it was an active listening.
Right. And that is like an ability that is very, very important to have, I believe, because otherwise, how else are you going to be able to stay up to date and, move with the times? Because the nature of all of us is just to stick to the status quo. You're thriving right now. You're doing well right now. And when things move on and change, and all of a sudden, your way of being is threatened, your nature is just like, this new stuff is not good. Like the status quo is good.
Yep.
That's the nature of everyone. That's how we are. But we need to be able to be open and absorb new things. And the minute we stop being able to do that, let's lose touch with reality.
I agree.
And I think the world is becoming more and more kind of blanketed in their ideologies and statements. Like, for instance, there are just some opinions and some ideas and some groups of people that just will not listen to the other side, no matter what. It isn't a discussion. It's they're dictating, and that's not communicating. That really isn't. They might be out in some courts, or they might be out in the streets, and they're just blanketing. There's no exchange. That's not interesting to me.
It's not healthy.
No,
it's not healthy when you are so ideologically driven that you can't see the other side. You can't look at a perspective you can't change.
Yeah,
it's very, very damaging. I think any society that can have multiple perspectives that works together is a powerful society. But any society that becomes so fragmented, which is what's happening in the US at the moment. You got this left and right. They are so extremely opposite that they can't see each other's perspective, and they're losing the benefit of the opposites, and they're just becoming enemies. And it's not like one side loses. Everyone loses when you're so polarized like that. It's a very worrying thing. Very worrying thing.
It's almost like it's a requirement for us to thrive, to do well as a species and just as individuals, to have something to push against.
Well, that's why we have men and women. But I mean, think about that. We're so different. We're basically different species in the way that we operate and think.
Almost.
But you take a man and a woman out of the equation, there's no second generation. There's no future for humanity. And those, you take the creative and you take the consistent and you separate those things. You're going to just have loony bins, or you're going to have nothing new.
Right.
You got to have these complementing forces, otherwise we die.
Absolutely.
Quickly.
Absolutely. And I mean, if in terms of like professional or other context or interrelational, if you're not pushing against something, if you're not being challenged, you're not growing.
Yeah.
You're shrinking.
I agree 100%. 100%. Some of because I'll often read business leadership type books, and one guy I really like is Simon Sinek. I don't know if you've heard about him. He's sort of like a cross between a motivational speaker, leadership writer. He's like a consultant. Maybe I've butchered his definition, but he's a guy that will give you really, really interesting insights in how to organize teams and how to run things and how to think about things. And he often talks about being the most stupid person in the room. And he's talking about some big Silicon Valley company. He was with the board of directors, and they're making big business decisions. And he's sitting in the room, and the presentation is given by some consultant. And everyone nods politely and gives their little clap, and they say, okay, well, we'll go in that direction. And so he said, sorry, excuse me, before you ratify that decision, could I just ask a question? Sorry, I don't get that little basic concept. I know it's stupid, but can I just ask, why is that thing not working? And everyone looks at him like he's the idiot because it's such a simple thing. It should be obvious. And so the consultant who's doing the presentation to this big, powerful company gives him the obvious reason, and he goes, it still doesn't make sense to me. And on the second or third time of him saying that, one of the other directors goes, yeah, that doesn't make sense. And eventually, all those directors, because he's the idiot in the room who's willing to ask the stupid question, willing to not just agree for the sake of looking good, all of them end up not making the decision that was being presented to them, because they were all agreeing with each other because they thought that was the right thing.
Right.
And it took one idiot to go, I don't think this is the right thing. I'm not sure. Explain it to me because I'm probably wrong. And he changed the course of the direction for that company.
What's that saying? Like, you can't see the forest for the trees?
Wow. Very good.
I mean, that's like sometimes if you stare long enough at something, you stop seeing it, right?
Very good.
And maybe like, this, like, what was his phrase? Like the most stupid person in the room? No.
Yes, yeah. Be the most stupid person in the room.
So like, just like, that's kind of like, just zooming out, just like he had a fresh perspective.
That's right.
Very interesting.
And I think we're losing some of that nuance and that color and that perspective by short attention spans, but also ideologically driven rhetoric. It's the new thing, but it's actually rhetoric because there's no substance behind it. Yeah. And I think it's a very dangerous world.
Also, just because there are so many ways you can find yourself in an echo chamber that you created yourself online. You can just consume media and consume news that just reinforce your idea, and you just like click out, or you don't even watch stuff that is challenging it.
Yeah.
So you don't see the other argument because it's just the other part just feels good, right?
I watch a few YouTube channels that are very right wing. Mm-hmm. And in terms of American politics, because that's the only politics that accounts, at least on YouTube. And so they will have a go at anything a liberal politician in America will say. Anything they say, any little mistake. And often I'll watch it thinking, you guys are just, you're picking out the most ridiculous, stupid stuff. And it's a right perspective that is mocking and trying to undermine the left. And I'm like, and if I was American, I would probably be on the right because I'm a capitalist and I like small government. Fundamentally, I think people should govern themselves. I'd actually be a libertarian if I had that privilege, because I think big government messes things up. So that is a typically right perspective. So my feed will feed me right-minded perspectives, and I look at this stuff and I think, you guys are missing it. You're just completely missing it. You're pulling apart another idea based on stupidity, and this is not the context of the way that was said. And so I should be agreeing with everything they're saying. I'm looking, you guys are just being ideologically driven here. This is not a good thing.
Right.
And it's interesting to me with what's happening in America, because typically what was a right perspective has sort of reversed, and what used to be a very liberal idea about free speech is now something that the left doesn't like. There's enforced speech, and there's ideas that are enforced on people, and that is not the fundamentals for that party.
No.
They're always about, no, you should be able to say what you want and do what you want. And it's like things have shifted a bit, not in every angle, but in a lot of degree, in a lot of dimensions, things have shifted. And I'm like, this is weird. This is a weird world. This is not normal, the place that we're living in.
It almost seems like, the public has become like hooligans in a sports stadium. Like, it's this team no matter what, and it doesn't really matter what's coming from the other side. Yeah. I'm on this team, I'm ride or die.
That's right.
And it's, instead of just being, I kind of understand why though, because if you want to, which you should, judge things topic by topic. Like, it's not just blanket, this party has this view on that specific topic. Like, you should be able to outweigh each direction or each thought on each topic. But that requires you to be able to judge it, and that requires you to do the due diligence and research, and maybe you don't have the time and energy and ability, but also, more importantly, maybe you just don't judge your ability to judge it and reach the right conclusion. So you just attach yourself to someone that has the charisma and the self-confidence. And maybe that's also what is such a draw to Andrew Tate. People just are drawn to confidence. I think that's really a thing. And some people are really good at exuding a huge amount of confidence. And I think it's a huge factor in success in anything in life. If you're able to be either truly confident or present an image of confidence. But no, that's a side note. But
no, I agree. When I did my first office job, I was handling payroll for a bunch of nurses. I was working for the NHS, which is the big hospital system in the UK. And I would have nurses phone up and say, hey, there's a problem with my paycheck. And what I was told was some certain reason why there was this problem. And it sounded correct. It was completely wrong, but it sounded correct. And because I thought it was true, I would say it in such a way that these nurses would almost instantly go, yeah, okay, that's great. Thank you for letting me know. And they were being screwed on their paycheck because I was just confident. And I think I learned that lesson as a 20-year-old or whatever it was. Confidence is a tricky thing because it's nice to have, but if you're wrong, you're really doubling down on that mistake. Not a good thing.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's good to do your research. It's good to look into things. It's good to have a reason why, and it's also good to shut the hell up when you don't know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of us don't know how to do that. Certainly because of the influence of social media. Even me, sometimes I talk about things I should be like, no, I don't know about that. I'm trying to get better at going, I'm not sure. Like I don't want to judge one way or the other because actually I don't have an informed opinion. I just have someone else's opinion.
No, but then you kind of invite people. If you just say it politely, if you just, your intent is not malicious. If you just genuinely, like, you could, I think it's fine to talk about stuff that you're not really knowledgeable about, because then you can invite people or someone that is in your, like you're around you, that can then present like a knowledge perspective on the topic.
Yes, but then you do it in a humble way that says, hey, I don't know about this. Yeah, absolutely. But if you ask me my opinion on whether this car is better or that car. Like, I should be able to go, I don't know. Actually, I have no idea whether, that's not my world. What do you think?
Right.
Oh, isn't it like this or isn't it like, but I'm asking as a noob. I'm not dictating my opinion like I know everything.
But the funny thing is that if you start by saying that, like, I don't know, but I think, like, then people immediately go, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not confident on his opinion. I'm going to listen to someone who is like, this car is better because, even though they don't know, they haven't done their due diligence. Like, I think that's kind of our psychology.
Yes.
If someone feels really strongly about something, if they're really confident in it,
They must be right.
If it's really, they must be right.
Yeah, it's a dangerous world.
It is. It really
dangerous.
is.
I think I've got something, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the pioneer in me, or maybe it's because I'm from Africa and maybe it's a small country. I don't know. But I don't believe everything that people tell me just because they tell me. I try, and so often people will say, hey, did you see that thing? And I'm like, that agrees with my perspective, my framework for whatever that arena is, but I'm not going to trust the fact that you said it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to look into this thing and see what the black and white says. So through COVID, people were often saying to me, hey, you got to shut down, or you got to do this thing, or you got to, like, certain restrictions. And this is what the newspaper said. This is what my friend said. I'd be like, I don't care what you say. I would say to people I really care about and love, I would say to their face, I don't care what you say. Don't tell me. They'd be like, but it said in the newspaper. So I don't care what it says in the newspaper. And I went straight to the government. I know the 599G and 599F. I would go and read the government restrictions. Right. And I would, because people were always just sprouting off whatever they heard on the subway.
Right.
And then if you believe anything of that, then you get caught up in doing the wrong thing, and you prepare the wrong way. You could lose out of money. You can break rules. And be like, go straight to the source.
Right.
Figure this stuff out properly.
Wow. Okay.
And so often people say, hey, did you see that thing on Facebook? And I would have seen it, and I know it's Facebook.
It's a rumor that might turn into a policy or a change later, but it's a rumor, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. One of my favorite examples of that is people go, oh, did you know all the Starbucks sizes are exactly the same? And you'll see the YouTube video of him pouring the one cup into the next cup, and it's the same amount of liquid, and then the middle cup into the big cup, and it's the same amount. And obviously it's a magic trick because it looks so ridiculous that people watch it over and over again.
Right.
See, like, there's a different game. This is not truth. This is attention. This is what we're trading in now, is attention. So don't believe this. So now when people tell me, hey, did you see the Facebook video? They're like, shut up. I don't care about that. You're a sucker. You're falling for the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But I think that is the crux of it, is we need to understand what is the game that's being played. And sometimes the game that's peddled as truth is just attention.
Right.
It's not actually real, but it gets eyeballs, and that gets them paid.
Right.
And so, to use that old expression, don't hate the player, hate the game. But I think that's a true perspective on it.
No, that's true. And I mean, yeah, I mean, this is like so really complicated when you're dealing with government and policies like you're doing at your level.
Well, no. Yeah, we're just a little context, but how do those policies affect us? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's I get nervous every time, I'm turning in my taxes, and every time I have to do anything with like the government, because I just don't trust them being like completely like good at what they're doing, and I just like don't want to be in their way in any form or shape. It makes me very, very nervous every single time if there's anything.
Yeah, because it can really affect your life if something goes wrong.
Yeah, and you might just like hit a wall. It's just like computer says no. There's no logic. You try to reason with them, and it's just like, no, that's what the book says, so we're gonna do that.
Yeah, yeah. In particular in Hong Kong, it's very much like cannot.
Right.
So, yeah, it's good to do your due diligence. But yeah, Andrew Tate. It's very interesting.
He really, like, it's like in the past month and a half or something like that, he's like really exploded onto the scene. I think the first time I saw him was when Your Mom's House, YMH, were making fun of his some of his like crazy ridiculous statements that he was making in his home, and then he eventually came on their podcast, and then things just took off from there.
So you think they really instigated his rise?
I don't know, like, you know, I would have to look into like what played a role there, but I think maybe he must have instigated or tried to get on podcasts and get on platforms and get exposure, because he must have been able to turn that exposure that he got from there into something.
To cash.
Yeah, because I mean that is the commodity, like you said. People's attention, eyeballs on you is the commodity.
That's right.
That is where you make your money. That's an influencer.
Yeah.
Your ability to do that, be it by people hating you or people liking you or people just being entertained by you or a combination of these factors, that's the game.
I think part of the market is that when something new comes on the horizon, there's a gold rush.
Yeah.
And then over time, they'll find an equilibrium point. And so I think social media is very new. It really is new. And TikTok is the newest of the new. And so there is this recalibration, I think, that is going on. And once the shine wears off and that new smell dissipates, I think things will settle back down to normality again. So sometimes we see the blip on the curve and we go, oh no, the world's ending. Maybe it isn't. Maybe you just need to give it time to correct. So these sort of people who get purchase get ousted out by things with substance over time.
Right.
But it doesn't stop the blip happening.
Right.
I think the scary thing is the young kids who are watching people like Tate and many others are getting sucked into that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think now that more of the game is like, you know, your ability to gauge what is a good influence and a bad influence for you. Like, you know, your mental diet. Because you can consume like really horrific ideas and bad stuff online all day, every day, and that's going to affect you.
Right.
Or you can, like, you know, you're drawn to certain interests or certain topics that hopefully will end with you having a more enlightened, better, more knowledgeable perspective on your interests.
Right.
But like, how can you try? Like, I was a complete idiot when I was a teenager. I am
Really?
so happy that there was no social media around to stamp in time forever and ever some of the things that I was
Really?
thinking and doing. Absolutely. I think most people would agree with that. So I kind of understand, and I don't want to be too harsh on people who make mistakes and do things online, because there should be a road to redemption.
Absolutely.
I have said and done things that I regret. I'm not perfect, and no one else
I
is.
can't believe you're saying I don't want to be on the podcast with you anymore. This was a bad idea. And well, isn't that humanity though?
But that's the thing. Like, some people are very, very harsh and judgmental and not forgiving.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you make a mistake, you say something stupid, then you're out.
Yeah.
Forever. You're just like, you're out. But we can't operate on that.
Well, it's a little bit like trying to sink someone else's boat, not realizing that it's your boat. It's like the more judgmental you are on others, the more it's going to come back on you.
Right.
Because we are all fallible. We're all going to make a mistake at some point.
Right.
And so I love that terminology, a road to redemption. It's not that that everything is just okay. There are things that are clearly just wrong.
For sure.
But humanity needs a way to redeem. Otherwise, let's all put guns to our heads right now. There's no way back.
Right.
And I think with young kids who have got very little life experience, I think some kids don't even know that they can make mistakes. They think they're perfect because mommy and daddy have brought them up saying that they're perfect,
right.
Which is not true. My 2.5-year-old's a terrorist. He draws on the walls and he says no, and he has little tantrums every now and again. You know, he is horrific. Doesn't mean I don't love him. It doesn't mean I don't say he's a good boy, but he gets disciplined when he steps over those boundaries. And I think a lot of kids have just had the niceties of you're a good boy, you're a good boy, you're a good boy, and never being told that they've made a mistake.
Right.
So when they get onto the Twitter sphere and they get onto TikTok, the second someone else makes a mistake, they go, you shouldn't make that. I've never made a mistake. How dare you make the mistake? Cancel.
Right.
And I think it's a bad thing because they're going to have a rude awakening the second they make a mistake.
And it's important to have that as a kid. Like, you have to find the line by going over the line. That's the only way.
I like that.
And
That's a good point.
And that is kind of like in the nature of people. We're pushing the boundaries. How like it can also sometimes be unconscious. When I was working at a psychiatric asylum, when I was young, I was like 21 or I was 20, I think, when I started there.
You sure you were working there and not admitted?
I am quite sure. I have payment checks. I can prove it. and they can see like, oh, there's a fresh face, and I could sense that they were like asking for things that they shouldn't be getting, like they're asking for like snacks or this or that. They were like testing. They were like, oh, there might be a weakness in the wall here. Let's test it. And that's in our nature. That's in everyone's nature. We're all just trying to benefit as much as possible out of our situation, and I think that's just ingrained in all of us. It's just human nature.
Yeah.
And you gotta put some frames around what you're okay and not okay with.
Yes. Yeah. That's absolutely right. And it's good to learn that with things that are less consequential, which is why we have those formative years where we're young, where you can recover quicker, and you've got years ahead of you that a mistake that could potentially damage an 80-year-old won't necessarily hurt an 8-year-old that much.
Right.
But that is what we don't get with the modern TikTok generation. They've never made a mistake. They've never realized they've made a mistake.
Right.
So the second someone else makes a mistake, they're all laser targets and guns, and it's not a good atmosphere at all.
You're very you read comments on YouTube and places. So what is it? What is the draw for you? What is it? Is it like different people's perspectives on the content, or is it a dynamic within the comments under different channels? What is the draw for you?
It is to see how are people responding to whatever that's being delivered. The internet is so full of trolls, and it is hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious, because that's another dimension to the game. So something can be good and wholesome and true, and the trolls will still come to play because that's their game. Right. And I think that's hilarious. I think that's funny. But then it's also just to see what's the reactions. How are people thinking? So I may look at something and think it's perfectly sane, and then you read the comments and you see how insane people are because they're reacting negatively, or vice versa. I think something is so crazy, and then you read the comments and they're all like positive about what's being said. It's just interesting to see. Even locally here in Sai Kung, there'll be some Facebook groups that we're part of, mostly for business, and it'll be interesting to see some of the things that people say. Just how do people think about these things, and Western perspectives, Chinese perspectives, what are those interactions? It's just, in some ways, it's more entertaining than the content itself.
It's an interesting perspective on it. I might be a little bit judgmental on this, but I don't comment myself ever, almost.
Me too.
And
maybe 5 comments in history.
Right, yeah. But I'm thinking like, what are the type of people that live in these comments, like, and what drives a person to be that active in comments? Like I'm worried that these are people who might be under socialized, and like this is a venue for them to get some expression out. And if they're under socialized, if their ideas are not popular in their immediate surroundings, they need to do it online. My worry is that is, you don't have the full context of the person. Like, when you read a review online, when you read like, a review on a microphone or a camera or something, and you can read their opinion on it, but like, is that person homeless that just happens to have a phone and didn't buy it? Like whose opinion is it? I kind of want to know whose opinion it is.
Yes.
Is it Rob Race 32, or is it like someone's actual person's name?
That's an interesting take, because some of that more technical stuff, you can differentiate who's knowledgeable, who isn't, usually by the level of detail they're able to give on a product.
But they can copy and paste, and like they live in the comments, they live in this online. Maybe. And they can present and everyone can do research.
I suppose that's why you take them with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically what EG is saying is if you comment below, you have no friends.
No. Oh,
Do not comment below.
Man. Oh my God. I'm really realizing also now my earlier comment on the veganism that I am so open-minded and I'm totally fine with people living in comments and never eating meat. I'm totally fine with it. It's just not how I live. It's just not how I live.
Cancel EG.
Oh my God. I have nightmares sometimes. If I go out and I'm hanging out with people and I say something like that can be misconstrued or it doesn't come out the right way, I go over it like 50 times in my head and I'm just like bashing myself over it. And like I'm so sure like this is one of those cases.
Well, just edit it all out, EG. Edit it all out.
Yes. I will be editing all of this out, including this.
No, it's funny. I think the internet amplifies whatever your fears are. So if you're worried just socially, then when you deal with the internet, it gets even worse.
That's true.
But part of the reason I don't make comments is I suppose related to what you're saying is because I think, well, what value does that have? And does this person even know what they're talking about? And so there's been a few times I've started to write a reply to something and I think, don't get involved. It's just like, it takes your attention away from real life, I think.
Yeah, for instance, just like a tiny small example. So, as you know, I play Minecraft. And my friend, he plays it too, and he invited me onto the server in Minecraft, which is an open server. And it can be quite vicious because it's an established server with like lands that you have claimed, and people try to invade it and take it over and stuff. And initially my username was just my name, Egil Bjarke. And he was saying like, oh, you should not have your real name. Even if you change it, they can trace it back. And if you step on someone's toes, they can be like really vicious. They can like decide to attack you. If like,
like in personal life, like
on social media, they can do. And like, and I didn't realize that. And I was just thinking, oh yeah, of course there are insane people out there. Like who try to like, they feel like you ruined their life in Minecraft. So they're going to ruin your life in social media. I think there are these people out there, and I didn't think of that. Of course, that's also part of the reason why I don't want to comment too much, and because as if for instance, if there's a new lens or something related to what I do on a webpage that is like revolving around equipment, if I have a genuine thought or a genuine question or things about that, every time I start to read the comments, I just see people as just like, there's just like someone coming from Camp A fighting against Camp B. And it's just like, there's no exchange. They're just screaming, it feels like into the air. And it's just, there's no discussion, at least in that venue. Maybe it has to do with whoever's moderating the comments or the webpage that is not doing a good enough job. But I get nothing out of those comments. I tried to reading those and I just stopped. Maybe it's different on YouTube. I don't know.
No, I don't know. I mean, I'm on some of the same forums with cameras and things, and it is a cesspool. It is absolutely a cesspool. Is. And the thing is, you get someone saying, I like this. Then someone says, hey, you're an idiot. Why do you like this? Don't you know? And then someone will reply to that and say, hey, don't call him an idiot. You're an idiot. And then it just devolves into this. And then someone right at the end will go, why are you guys all arguing? And then someone will say, why are you saying don't argue? Just rather write nothing. I'm like reading all this and I'm like, guys, it's just a piece of tech. Like, it's just a thing. Use it or don't use it. Yeah, I don't know. I think when you have a life, I'm just echoing what you said about having no friends and not being socialized. You don't get wrapped up in that stuff so cheaply. It's not that you won't make a mistake and get involved every now and again, but you got more important things to do.
Right.
So yeah.
But then again, like, I don't want to have like a too harsh or blanketed opinion on it, because the newer generation and younger kids, they live online. Like, most of their life is there. So that might be changing. Maybe my opinion could have been correct 10 years ago, but maybe now today it's changing.
No,
or maybe,
I think they're wrong. I think all kids are wrong. No, I'm joking.
No, but maybe and maybe it's just connected to camera related gear stuff where the comments are so toxic. Maybe it's totally fine and really healthy in other places.
I doubt it. I think the internet is just toxic.
It seems like it to me from the outside. Yeah.
Because I might not call you an idiot to your face, but in the comments, see below, I might say, "Oh, I don't like the face. I don't like his face. He's an idiot." Because it doesn't cost me anything. There's no repercussions. There's no kickback. There's no potential of a conflict where you go, "Hey, why do you think I'm an idiot? You want to talk?" There's nothing of that.
Right.
And I think.
What's the phrase for like I've read something? Keyboard warrior, right?
Yes.
That's such an interesting
exactly.
concept.
Yeah, exactly. So there's something very healthy about a real world where there potentially are consequences that make you monitor yourself.
Right, because if the commenters would have been sitting face to face like we are now, the communication would have been drastically different.
Yeah. At the very least, it should be different. And if it isn't, people end up in all sorts of trouble.
Right.
So, but I mean, it's not like, I don't know about you, but I don't spend a lot of my time worrying about most of that.
No, I try not to. I think in COVID, like when you have less things to do and when you're a little bit like, your routine is disrupted, and then all of these kind of like meaningless things start to occupy your mind.
Yeah.
I think the more busy I am, the more things that I have to occupy myself with, the less this stuff bothers me. And maybe that's universal. Maybe that's for everyone.
I think so. I notice, because I really enjoy food, clearly. When I work, I don't think about food. It's just not a thing for me.
Right.
But when I'm not working, I'm in the fridge.
Right.
And I think it's the same thing for this sort of stuff. If you're actually producing real life goods, services, you actually are engaged with real people, you don't concern yourself so much with all this sort of stuff. It's when you're bored and you're clicking or scrolling, that's what really hurts your brain. So.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I'm the same way with food. Like, if I have like a really busy day, I'm fine with not eating for a full day. It's okay if I'm busy enough.
Yeah.
But like if I have nothing, I'm like snacking all day.
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah. Welcome to my world.
By the way, I love the sliced meat, this dried sliced meat.
Hey, I
love
forgot
it.
to ask you about it. Okay.
So I started with the spicy.
This is biltong.
What does that mean?
That's the name of the sliced meat.
Oh.
Biltong.
Yeah, biltong. Yeah, I like the biltong. But I like the sliced meat the most. I'm currently on the dried sausages.
Okay.
That's the last pack. But like I will definitely be buying the sliced meat. It
So
is
you like it?
Absolutely beautiful.
You had the original, right? You didn't have the spicy one.
Original.
Yeah. That's the old school stuff.
I love it.
Very nice, eh?
Helga loves it too.
Really?
Yes.
That's fantastic. That's very, very good.
So
you find it easy just to snack on it?
it's tasty, and it's like, when you're drawn to snack, instead of going for like the Doritos or something other more horrific, you snack on something that's actually healthy.
Yes.
And it's genuinely tasty and good. And it's meat.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be adding too much weight because it's mostly protein.
Yep.
I love it. Like,
that's awesome, man.
You definitely found yourself a new customer.
That is the whole reason that whole business exists, is because we love biltong. I mean, it's very hard to not like it. And it's protein. It's got some salt in it, but salt's not that bad. And it's just delicious, man. Yeah.
It really is.
I'll eat a lot of that stuff.
I'm going to buy a packet like right now after this, just so I don't forget. Seriously, I really love it.
It's good stuff. I'll give you a packet.
No, I will buy it.
The top comment on this video will not only have no friends, but get some free biltong. Have you seen MrBeast hitting 100 million?
I have not. He hit 100 million
He's
subscribers.
Got 100 million.
Has he overtaken PewDiePie?
PewDiePie thinks at 111 or something.
Okay, not
But
yet.
he's just been cancelled because he was making fun of some deaf woman or something.
Oh, I saw that also.
So there's a whole pile of controversy.
Oh my goodness.
He's uncancelable. And
He's been cancelled a few times, right?
Yeah, some of it legitimately.
Right, yes.
But some of it is just because they love to hate who's ever at the top. So now he's got in trouble because it looked like he was mocking a deaf woman. But he wasn't. He didn't even know she was deaf.
I saw the headline. I didn't read into it. Okay.
Yeah. And so it's just like it's making its rounds again to hate PewDiePie, which is such a strange thing because he's such a lovely guy. Like if you ever watch any of his videos, he's just a nice guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, MrBeast hit 100 million and he's going to do some crazy thing. And I saw some video he did about the video he's going to put out for the 100 million, saying the first so many subscribers are going to get $10,000. It's like crazy.
I mean,
absolutely crazy.
He is one of the biggest recent successes on YouTube. His growth has been absolutely astronomical.
Crazy. I started to watch him because I started to get interested in YouTube maybe, I can't remember exactly, but maybe 5 or 7 years ago. And I would be teaching some students who would be watching YouTube the whole Saturday morning. I'd be teaching 3 brothers. And they'd be watching YouTube, and one would come for an hour lesson, and the other 2 would just watch YouTube, and they'd all swap out. I'd be like, "What are you guys doing? Watching YouTube the whole morning?" I'd be like, "What are you watching?" "Oh no, we're watching React channels." I'm like, "What's a React channel?" "Oh no, they react to other content." I'm like, "What are you doing with your life? You're gonna worry about his opinion?" And it's like, "No, we love." Of course, now I'm someone who watches React channels, but I just didn't understand it. So one of the guys who cropped up on my feed was this young kid, MrBeast, strange name, and he was doing strange things like shooting bullets through Lego. How much Lego does it take to stop a bullet, and crashing cars and doing crazy things. And I remember one of the first videos I watched was 3 million subscribers. He was giving, I think it was 3 million pennies to his 3 millionth subscriber. That was the gimmick.
Okay.
And it was a nothing video. They went and took a truckload of pennies to someone's house, and then they all tried to jump on this pile of pennies. And I remember half my brain was looking and going, this is utterly ridiculous. How can people watch this? There's no content here. And half of me was, this is genius. Absolute genius. You tapped into something. It was the friends, it was young guys playing with each other and being idiots. And it was so sort of free. Like they were just having fun and being stupid.
Right.
And so I was mocking it, but at the same time I was impressed.
Right.
And so I started to watch just before he hit 3 million subscribers. And I've been shocked at his growth. He's a beast. He's the MrBeast.
I mean, literally, he also, like, he seems to do a lot of research. Like, I've seen interviews and podcasts with him where him and his team, they just go over other successful viral videos. They look at the elements, they break them down to the T, and they just also really, for instance, what was the Korean TV series that like was so popular?
Squid Games.
Yes. I mean, the timing of that video is just spot on. Like, they are so analytical in their approach. I'm very impressed because their video come off as kind of just like friends hanging out and just like, oh, let's do this crazy thing. But no. There's so much method and approach behind all of that. I'm also thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, really. It wouldn't be content that I personally would want to watch, but I watch it because I'm impressed with who this guy is. He's amazing, 22 or something. And one of the most impressive, I'm sure you'll know this, one of the most impressive things was that video he did where he was handing out free burgers.
Right, yeah.
And he's got queues around the block because MrBeast is handing out free burgers. They're all coming in, handing out bags of money. And then the end of the video, like the last sentence is, oh, by the way, if you want to order your own burger, I've just opened 300 burger restaurants.
Right.
At the end of the video, it's like this much of it.
Right.
I was so impressed. So he's got, I think, 1,000 restaurants now across the world.
Wow.
All doing this MrBeast burger, which I'm sure is probably not the best burger in the world. It's probably a good burger. But the fact that he's got 1,000 restaurants to his name, and he's a kid.
I mean,
it's so impressive.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah, if you haven't watched MrBeast, go and watch him. He needs all the subscribers he can get.
No, but I mean, instead of having like that apparel or like that merch, like every other YouTube channel has, he's turning it into something different. He's leveraging the audience and making food, and I think it's smart. I think it's different. It's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Can we buy a MrBeast hamburger in Hong Kong? Do you know that?
I don't know. Someone said, I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to look into
We'll
that.
have to look into it. I would like to try MrBeast burger before I judge it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've seen other people react to it, and they generally are positive.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably not a gourmet burger, but it's probably just as good as any other fast food burger.
I want to try.
What he's leveraging is his brand. It's his name. So
yeah.
So it's very impressive. He's also got the chocolate.
Has he got a chocolate? I did not know that.
I think it's called Feastables or something. I'm not sure. And it's like really simple chocolate, really good. Selling it by the bucket loads.
Wow.
So very impressive, man.
No, but I think there's something to like also the frequency, like the activity. Like if you have so much activity when you post this regularly, you kind of inadvertently build a community around you. Like for instance, when vlogging was beginning, Casey kind of started that niche when he was like doing just vlogs and a video every single day. Like you pile on, like it's something for you to look forward to every day. You can watch it on your way from or to work or at night. Like you build a familiarity and a comfort level with so much people by doing that. So I think that is like, that one element is probably like half of the success on any channel, regardless of the content. I mean, I'm watching, for instance, my wife Helga and me, we play Minecraft, and she's watching this group of Minecrafters, and she's not interested in any other computer games. Minecraft is the first game she ever played, and she's connected with this one girl that is actually a few, but like this one girl particularly on Minecraft, and she's playing some other game, and she's watching her play that other game just because she likes her.
Right.
And there's something to that really is. And I think that gave me like, wow, okay, that's the power of just, you connect with this person to that degree that you're interested in something, they're interested, even though you're not interested in that thing. Wow, that's powerful.
One of my favorite Twitch streamers is a guy called Mizkif.
Okay.
And most Twitch streamers become popular because of a game they play.
Mm-hmm.
And so they might play League of Legends, and then that's their whole genre. And then when they stop playing League of Legends, people often will stop watching them because they were watching because it was that person playing that game.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, Mizkif, he doesn't play a particular game. It's his personality. So he can do anything he wants because people are watching for him. And at the moment, right now, they're doing something that they're calling Cap Canute. There's a streamer from I think he's Norwegian, and he's a big bodybuilder dude. And he's gone over to America, and he's doing a month of training with a bunch of these guys, where they're all working out every single day. And their viewership is up, and the numbers are crazy, and the interest is crazy, because this guy, he's not locked to a computer screen. So whatever he does, people are interested in him, which is like what Helga's interested with this other girl.
Right.
So it's a powerful thing. I think some people get trapped in a niche because that niche is what made them, but then they're trapped by it.
Right.
And there's some people who people connect with the personality, and then that means they have the freedom to play in different arenas,
right?
Which is very interesting. Yeah. Does that ever interest you to do vlogging?
I think kind of vlogging is dying now. Like,
yes.
I thought about it like a while back, but like I was so uncomfortable with myself and my own voice that the vlogs were kind of just sporadically just some visuals from whatever I was doing. So there wasn't really any red line or cohesion in them. So I did like maybe 6 vlogs or something like that. I don't know. I'm drawn to. I feel the need to express myself. I feel the need to make some sort of content or have some sort of an activity connected to my camera, but I haven't really found my lane yet. How about yourself?
Buddy and I tried doing daily videos a couple of years back.
Yeah,
we did it for over 2 months, and I didn't enjoy it at all. There were aspects I enjoyed, but overall it wasn't enjoyable.
What was the aspects that you enjoyed, and what was the issues? What did you not too much enjoy?
I loved the fact that it was consistent, and I hated the fact that it was consistent. I liked the fact that we had something to do. We knew we had to do a video every day, and that forces you in some sense to be creative and figure some stuff out and play with it, and not just do the same thing you did the day before.
Right.
Or at least there's a pressure there. You don't always win. But then it's taxing because you're doing that thing every day, and it's not like we were getting 30 to 100 views on each video, so it's not like it's worth it in terms of money and momentum. It was just the self-challenge.
I see.
So, but the same as you, I hate looking at my stupid fat face. Like, it's not that your face is stupid or fat, but you just don't. I don't like looking at myself.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But I think my theory currently is that if you find a process that you can like really just thoroughly enjoy for the process itself, like meaning you're not making the content for something out of your control, like views and stuff like that. If you're just doing it for the process, I think I'm really trying to work on that. For instance, with the human experience, just like us now, we're just sitting down and having a genuine conversation. I really enjoy connecting with another person and really hearing out their perspective and views on things. So I genuinely enjoy that. If I can have an excuse to do that, perfect. And if I can have like a byproduct of that, like a little bit of a side story or like a little bit of a side video outside the conversation for that person that might give them utility, even better.
Wow.
So that's what I want to try to do. I just want to try to make a recipe, a process that is truly enjoyable to me and that is of utility for that person that I'm involving into that process.
Did you? To me, it looks like you really enjoy, or at least you're good at the process of editing, producing something, and then very quickly, with a short turnaround, getting a project out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's enjoyable. I enjoy that, and I'm also part of that is also just trying to not make it too much of a big deal. Just like spend how much time you decide to spend on it, one night or a few hours here and there, and just produce it and get it out there. And be happy about it, no matter how many views or likes it gets. That I don't want that to be like the main part that I'm doing it, because then you're kind of putting your direction, how you spend your time, in other people's hands. So rather like first like I don't know what the saying is, like build it and people will come.
Yes.
Or people might not come. Doesn't
as long as you enjoy building it.
Yes. And then maybe in the process of building something else might like come out of it, then might get a lot more success.
I like that. What I noticed is last Monday we went out for photos.
Yeah.
I think you had produced a reel by Tuesday afternoon.
I don't remember exactly, or something like that.
It was a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
I had barely loaded the photos up and got the software working because I've never done photos before, and you had already produced amazing photos. You had put a reel together of some of the beautiful shots that you got.
Oh, thank you, man.
Really, really amazing stuff. I still, a week and a half on, still have not finished it.
No, but maybe you don't enjoy the editing process.
No, I think I do. But number one, I'm learning. So I didn't know about photo software, and I'm trying to get raw plugins and this program and that thing. And so there's just that element that the first time you do something, it's much harder than the subsequent times. But also I've got so used to quality work from others that you can just visually see it, that when I can't produce it, I get stuck in this rut. And then I go down rabbit trails of trying to learn how to get there, but it just takes time in the saddle. But I'm not in the saddle because I'm trying to learn and how to get in the saddle, so I get stuck in a loop.
I've recognized the same exact problem in myself. And the reason why I try to do these quick turnarounds is to try to break that.
Right.
Just to try to make it a little bit more casual. Don't build it up. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just
But
Make something.
It needs to be half decent.
No, but at least what's better? To leave it on a hard drive and nothing ever comes of it? Or at least you make something and you get something out there. However good or bad it is. You make something.
Ugh.
No, but I have the same nature. You want to make it perfect. You want to make it as good as you can make it. And if you don't feel like it's good, it's just like, oh, it's embarrassing. That's so bad. Like, break that down. Just produce something.
Oh, we were in 2 months. Bonnie and I were in America 2 or 3 years ago. I recorded video footage every single day. Amazing. Grand Canyon, the Colorado River, mountains, deserts, like Utah, Colorado, the Rockies. Just phenomenal stuff. We went down to Texas and had barbecue. All of it's on our hard drive.
Amazing.
50 days worth. I've got 3 videos done for the first 3 or 4 days. And it's still sitting there. It's sitting on my hard drive, on my laptop, with the files half edited. And every time I go to edit it, I'm like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, that looks terrible. Oh, I should have done this, because I wasn't vlogging and editing. I was just vlogging, and it's the first time we'd ever done it. And I'm like, this is so boring. This is just terrible. The framing's bad. The colors are bad. And I've got stuck in this rut for 2.5 years, just not being able to get past it. And I don't want to do day 5 because day 4 is not done. And day 5 is so much more interesting. So I'm even more stuck. So when I see you go from a Monday night to Tuesday it's produced, then we went out on Tuesday on a boat, which we haven't even talked about. You had that thing done by Wednesday. I'm like, this dude is a machine.
No, but I mean, I have all the same issues and thoughts and logic as you do.
But you produce.
I truly do. But I'm trying to break it down by producing, by having the quick turnaround, by not giving myself the ability to overthink it or overcomplicate it.
Okay.
Because sometimes, like, I've had ideas about YouTube videos and things that I want to do, but then, like, I got to do this work thing first. Or I can't spend my time doing this thing because there's a commission thing that I need to address. And then I've spent my time or energy and, like, then it's like the moment is gone and the time has passed. So I'm really trying to break things down for myself to produce, because I have exactly the same thoughts as you do. 100% the same.
So when you sit down at a project and you go, I don't really like this project, the content isn't that great, how do you break that parameter? Do you just produce it anyway?
Yeah.
Do you just force yourself to do it?
I mean, for instance, our photo walk, it was fun. It was enjoyable to be there because there's, like, so many things happening, and I enjoy being in the street and just watching things unfold. It's so random and chaotic and beautiful. But then kind of if you don't have, like, an aim or, like, a story or a line that you're trying to go along, I was just there kind of randomly just testing out the anamorphic lens. So the video kind of was kind of all over the place. And then I just decided, you know what? I was just testing out the lens. I just want to get it out there anyway. So when you have, like, an aim, when you have an ambition, when you, like, are trying to do something more than just, some aesthetical video, then I trip myself up.
Okay.
Then I get into that conundrum, and I think, let's say, if it's easy to remove yourself, and if you're applying it to someone else, if you are managing a computer character in a game, and you're trying to get that character to get skills, if that avatar and character in the game is to be a filmmaker or a video producer or just one thing or another, and if you want that person to become good, do you make that person spend 6 months on making one short film? Or do you make that person make 50 small videos in that half a year? How are they going to get better?
Good point.
I think I'm trying to, with the human experience, for instance, I want to try to produce more often and take it up to 80%. And just to get it out there and just have a thought and get something, an interesting perspective or interesting story, and just get it out there. Don't overcomplicate it. Just produce it. And then soon enough, your 80% will become 85%. And with the reps, if you do it enough times, you will find the path, you will find the way, you will find the structure. The most important bit is just to be active, because that's how you get input points. That's how you get, oh, I had an issue with the editing that part, or like I find like this element was missing. Then you're able to make that correction on the next one. So that's my working theory. But then I trip myself up again, because there's always commissions. There's always a meeting. There's always a quotation I need to make. There's always this, that, and the other that takes precedent. And I've done that so much that, like, you know, it's become almost like just like every other job. I'm just doing things for money. Too much. And I'm trying to correct that, because you need to, especially in this, you need to be very passionate about what you're doing, because otherwise you're not innovative. You're not trying new things. You're just doing things you're asked to do. And that's how you become bored. That's how you become poor in your field, I think.
Wow, that's a good insight. Wow.
Let's see if I manage to break out of that and really become effective in my personal projects. That's at least the aim. I've lined up another interview, and I'm working on an interview with Desmond that I talked about.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
That's awesome, man. I'm very, very impressed with your ability to balance the ideal and a real project, like actually getting a piece of work out there. And even though I haven't actioned it, I've already learnt just watching you, just from the side, going, okay, well, you didn't make an excuse, you didn't slow down there. Yep, you definitely could have improved that, but you produced it anyway. It's impressive to me. Very impressive.
Thank you, man. That's really, I really appreciate that.
So,
and also just like, you know, that's how kind of photography started with me. I was just really interested in starting it out, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And then the questions came later on. Like, you know, you add the knowledge as you're going.
Right. Yeah, rather than trying to assimilate all the knowledge and then attempt something.
Right.
Just start.
Start where you are. And then the questions will arise, and you will address them and get better and overcome the things that you encounter in the process.
I like that. Okay. You have encouraged me, and I don't know if you intended to do this, but challenged me.
No, I did not intend to do that. I don't want to be challenging at all. I hope it's in a good way.
No, in a really good way. Because I can notice the hump that I'm in with some of the video editing stuff that I haven't overcome for 2.5 years. And you're saying, oh, you got stuff on a hard drive. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly where I got stuff, is a hard drive. I've been stuck. And part of it is perfectionism and idealism, and part of it is just feeling the weight of having to produce but not producing, and it just sits there, just gets dusty.
I mean, that's what every single person on earth does with photos and videos of their phone.
Right.
Most of it just lives there, or it lives on a hard drive.
That's right.
Or then it crashes, or you lose it, and then it's gone. Most of us don't use any of the videos and photos that we produce. Most of us.
Wow. Good insight.
No, but I think it's because it's just so much. Like, you know, we just... How many pictures do you have on your phone now, you think?
Thousands.
Right?
Thousands.
But me and Helga, we've really been trying to consciously break that down, because it's like, you know, when you grow up, you had photo albums.
Right.
You had family albums that, like, you know, you look so fondly on those, and it's just, there's so many memories. It was so enjoyable to go over it. That's kind of gone now. But we're trying to bring it back. So every year, well, I think it's through Blurb or one of those like apps that you can make a photo book from. So we make a book for 1 year, and we just make it.
That's awesome. That's such a good idea.
Yeah. But it's a lot of work and a lot of effort.
Right. But also, because it's for you and it's memories, you're also building a memory by doing it.
Absolutely.
Affiliate links in the description. Thank you to our sponsor, Blurb, did you say?
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
How long have we been going? What does the timer say on the?
1:45. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. I didn't feel like I thought maybe we were around 1 hour or something.
Yeah. How did you find today?
Good. I think we did well. I think, like, you know, we managed to be, again, like, genuinely ourselves.
Yes.
Like last time.
Yes.
How about yourself? What do you think?
I don't know if what I said made any sense. But I got to bed at 4 a.m. last night, so my brain is not 100% here. But I really enjoyed it. Some of the things you said were very good, very insightful.
I'm very nervous about the vegan stuff and the comments.
I love that. I love it.
I regret everything. This has been a horrific mistake.
Everything
this
I said
is,
is...
This has finally become a bad idea.
Oh, it's funny that we have to be conscious of that. That's hilarious. Hilarious. No, that's good, man. Thank you.
Once we wrap this up, do you want to try to play this game with me?
What game?
It's called Pente or Pente.
I'm happy to give it a go. Yeah.
It's an old version of this, ancient version of this.
Wow. Yeah, I'd love to.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap up and try it.
Great.